This edition of Mac Voices is brought to you by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Learn more and download yours at takecontrolbooks.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Joyner, and this is Mac Voices, the talk of the Mac community. Folks, we're still on the road to Macworld iWorld 2014, talking to some of the presenters, the exhibitors, the conference folks, everybody that makes Macworld iWorld what it is, and something that you really should come to. This time, I'm welcoming back our good friend, Brett Terpstra. He's doing a session that I'm kind of anxious to talk to him about. It's called, and I want to make sure, I've got to read it to make sure I get it right, The Efficient Mac User, OS 10 Tips for Getting More Done with Less Work, which is something that I would love to do. Brett, it's great to have you back. Thanks for being here.
Hey, happy to be here.
Yeah, and Brett, before we get into this, I think it's important for folks to note that you have now gone completely independent, so you really do need to get more work done with less effort.
Yeah, I was working a day job and doing all my side projects like Marked and Systematic and my blog, and now I'm busier than I was. I thought I would have more time and I'd be able to sleep at night and whatnot. But I'm actually, now that I'm full-time in these projects, it's really busy. Yeah.
I guess the upside to that is, of course, that you get to work on all those projects and make them the best they can be. The downside is that you really never get to go home from work because it's always right there.
Yeah, but like I said, I was doing like 24 hours anyway. I should find some time to relax now that I'm through the first couple weeks of independence.
Yeah. So how's it going so far? Has it been much of an adjustment?
Yeah, to some extent. I was a remote worker, so I was working in my basement at my computer anyway. So that part didn't change, but the lack of structure, the lack of schedule has taken some adjustment on my part. But I think I'm handling it.
Yeah. Well, and like you say, if you were working that kind of crazy schedule anyway, there really was no schedule to have to redo. You just sort of decided to have more time to work on the things that you were really passionate about.
Exactly.
On your own side. So.
Yes.
So, Brett, this session really looks interesting. It's the kind of thing that just suckers everybody in because everybody would like to know those tips and tricks. And you're one of those guys that has developed so many different things. Sometimes they're little, sometimes they're big, but they all end up at making us more efficient. Am I reading that right? Is that what you're going to try to communicate in this session?
Yes. Over the last 10 years, I've come to realize that I waste a lot of time making life better for other people. Like when I see a problem, I have to solve it, even if it's not mine. So I've spent a lot of time figuring out the better ways to do things. So my time has gone into a sinkhole so I can share it with everybody else, and they don't have to waste any time. And that's kind of this presentation will be all about things that I've spent time figuring out that you don't have to.
Can you really do that, Brett? Can you really figure out something with your skill set that can benefit me with my skill set, or maybe more importantly, my experience level?
Well, take Marked, for example. Marked, if you write in Markdown at all, and you may or may not, but if you do, Marked automatically works. You just open the same file as open in your editor, and it does everything for you. And it solves a lot of problems that I spent hours on. But as far as the end user is concerned, they just open their file and go, and it updates live as they edit their Markdown. So yeah, I mean, just as an example.
Okay, so the next thing that I'm thinking about is Marked itself. Marked is the right kind of tool for a lot of folks. It's not the right tool for a lot of other folks. Is this going to be a little bit higher up on the geek ladder, some of the tips you're talking about, or are you bringing it down to the average folks like me?
I'm going to start down low. And my goal for this session is to help average users, not newbies. There's no help for newbies. They need like a caring grandson that'll help them out. But for the average user, I want to elevate their skill set and at least give them the footing to kind of understand where they could go. A lot of people use their Macs the same way for year after year, and they never realized that right built into the operating system are all kinds of amazing shortcuts and utilities and the third-party apps that are available for free that can enhance your computer experience. Like, most people never even realize that they should be looking for it. So my goal is to kind of demonstrate the basics and then kind of expose the audience to the wonders that are available. And there are wonders available.
Okay, that's a great line. The wonders that are available. I love it. I love it. But you did mention, things that are built into the operating system. You also mentioned third parties. Any particular balance between the two, or is it just going to be the things that you think are most important?
I think I'm still formulating the full list. There are a lot of third-party apps that I want to mention. I don't plan to demo every one of them in depth, but when it solves a problem that the operating system can't, I do want to mention it so people know where to look. But I do want to cover a lot of stuff that just takes the tips that I've compiled. Did you ever see my book with David Sparks?
Oh yeah,
60 Mac tips now. But I want to take a lot of those and present them in new ways and kind of evolve on the type of practice that we started in that book, where we were just basically, David and I just took the things that we came to take for granted because they just became such a part of our workflow because they were so effective. And we had to sit down and go, what do normal people do that we're doing better? And it took some thinking. Like, I sat on an airplane and I watched over the shoulders of two people up the aisle as they used their Macs, their laptops. And I took notes on everything they did that I wanted to tap them on the shoulder and be like, did you know you could do that faster if you knew this keyboard shortcut, or if you assigned a shortcut over here and cleaned up your dock a little? Do you really need your entire Microsoft Office in there? Like all these things. And that's kind of where this presentation started, was actually on an airplane watching other people make mistakes.
I love that. I love that because I've watched the very same thing, and I won't call them mistakes, but I probably term it more ignorance.
Inefficiencies.
Inefficiencies, okay, that they just don't know. You don't have to memorize every single keyboard command for Mac OS. Just memorize the ones that you need or could use, and it's going to increase your efficiency in a big way. So I've had that same experience. I think it's really interesting, though, that you've built a presentation from it.
Well, let's hope. No, it's I feel like it's way better to present to a bunch of people at once and make a thorough presentation rather than tap strangers on the shoulder on the airplane. I think it's safer and better for everybody.
Yeah. Well, the people on the airplane might get a little
rowdy.
Wonder why you're looking over their shoulder. And just he's doing research.
Everybody
folks.
knows. Everybody knows. Everybody does that.
Yeah. He's just doing research, folks. Really. Anyway. Another challenge, though, I think, in a session like this, because I believe you have 50 minutes in this. There's so many things that you want to hit, and it's really tough to hit them all. And especially if you even try to get in depth with any one thing, you end up, just running out of time. So how high level are you going to keep it in that way?
I want to dip into maybe 3 or 4 of the topics for more than 5 minutes. But the rest of it, I really want to... I don't want it to be a magic show. I don't just want to wow people with it. I want to help people understand what's available. Even if I'm not giving them full tutorials on a single application, I want them to walk out with any application I show. You should understand why you would need it and why you want it, and if you don't need it. Like, I want to make those points clear to everybody. So I'll take the time that it takes, and I'll cut out what has to be cut out to make sure that it's not just one of those dizzying displays of computing feats.
Yeah, that's another kind of danger, I think, for anyone who's presenting. There's so much stuff you want to see, and there's so much that you are convinced that you can make everybody's life better if they would just understand how to use this particular program in the 25 most efficient ways. And people end up turning off, and they might remember one or two, but they also may be turned off by the presentation and never practice any of them.
This is very true.
This edition of MacVoices is brought to you by Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. The hits just keep on coming from Take Control Books. Josh Centers helps you get the most out of Apple's set-top box in Take Control of Apple TV. From setup to some of the more advanced capabilities, Josh walks you through each of the Apple TV's features, making sure you know how to do what you want to do and make the most of your viewing time. Stop channel surfing and watch the content you really want to watch with Take Control of Apple TV. Michael E. Cohen's latest effort is Take Control of Pages, and it's a bit different. Sold as a pre-book, you get a large first chapter and then subsequent chapters as Michael finishes them. This method achieves more flexibility in a title that seems to be constantly changing as pages for the Mac and iOS develop. Michael shares some of the essential tips on making sense of Pages rewrite and how to use it on both platforms. Joe Kissel has delivered a 1-2 punch with Take Control of Your Passwords and Take Control of 1Password. It seems that data breaches are an almost daily occurrence now, and password management is at the front line of security for your personal information. Joe takes a broad look at the subject in his Passwords book, and then gives you some tips on the most effective use of his and my favorite password manager. While Joe can't guarantee your security, he can certainly improve the odds. Those are just some of the most recent titles from Take Control Books. All are affordable alone, and many are more affordable with their bundle deals. Take Control Books are designed, written, and edited to get the most useful information in your hands in an understandable, approachable form that is both easy and fun to use. Visit Take Control Books right now to see all the great titles and learn something new about your favorite programs. Take Control Books, the answers you need now from leading experts. Thanks to Take Control Books for their support of MacVoices. So tease us a little bit. Give us a couple tips that might make the session or might not, but that you think are important for people to know.
Well, I kind of mentioned like taking care of your dock. There are tricks you can use to hide applications that aren't currently running, so you don't have this. I've seen docks with like 50 or 60 icons stretching all the way across the screen. You can't find anything, and you get your badge notices are all lost in a pile of neon Microsoft Office icons and everything. So we're going to talk about like dock and menu bar, how to keep it tame and make it useful, like make the notifications as visible but as unobtrusive as possible. Because a lot of it, efficiency is also about stress relief. And there are a lot of things that people allow to happen on their computers that do nothing but keep them in a state of panic while they're sitting there. So I want to talk a little bit about not just being efficient, but being calm at your computer so you can focus on tasks. So we'll talk about things like bartender for the menu bar. Have you ever heard of that?
Oh, yeah, it's running right now. Yep.
Mine too. I'm going to make sure that everybody knows about that because it's a huge lifesaver, especially on a laptop. And then keyboard shortcuts. I want to talk a lot about all the different ways that you can incorporate keyboard shortcuts. You can add your own. You can learn the system ones. You can hold up cheat sheets. You know, there are apps so when you hold down your command key, it'll show you what shortcuts are available in this application. So you don't have to memorize them all at once, but you can find the important ones very quickly. And I want to talk about which ones are important, which mouse movements take the most time out of our work. That could be one quick keystroke. So yeah, I mean, I don't want to give it all away, but note taking, we're going to talk a lot about collecting information. There will be a lot of discussion on how to browse the web and store your notes efficiently, how to handle RSS efficiently, things like that. That in an information world, vital information.
The keyboard shortcuts thing, we were talking about that pre-show. I think it's so important, and it's also so intimidating because everyone seems to feel like, oh, if I'm going to learn those, I have to learn them all. And you don't for any given application. If there's an application that you spend a lot of time in, yeah, maybe find out what is available and what applies to you. But it doesn't mean, because, man, some applications have 30 and 40
right.
By the time you do command and control and option keys.
So here's your free tip. Every time that you realize that you have used your mouse to go up to the menu for more than 3 times while you're using an application, next time you pull the menu down, right next to it on the right side, it'll tell you what the keyboard shortcut is for that command. Just that one. Just memorize that one for the day until you develop muscle memory for keyboard shortcuts. And switching keyboards can be really hard. But once you get all these shortcuts one at a time, one day at a time, focusing on the ones that you actually need in that moment, you'll use it because you're already needing it. So you'll keep using it, you'll learn it, and it'll just be in your memory the next day. You can go for another one.
That's a great tip, and it makes it approachable.
Yeah. Well, and we're going to talk about those menu items that don't have shortcuts, how to fix that. We can fix that.
Brett, is that a good idea? And I ask that because I'm a little hesitant sometimes to create my own, because then I'm afraid I will conflict with something else, or maybe do something I don't know how to undo.
It does take some knowledge. I will offer some tips on what standard Mac key bindings are and how to pick keyboard combinations that Mac OS X or any application in it will never use. I mean, there are combinations, Control-Shift letters don't show up very often in any application. They're a little awkward to hit, but they're always safe from overriding anything. But yes, I will get into that. There are a lot of... I take for granted that I've been doing this long enough that I know all the keyboard shortcuts on the system, and I know what I can add and what I can't. I need to explain that well, because I don't think about it. I just know.
So you can keep me out of trouble, in other words.
I could, yeah.
Good. Okay. I can use it.
I made a special key on my computer. My caps lock key holds down Shift, Control, Option, and Command all at once. So that's a key combination that no app will ever use, because you can't hit it and still hit another key, not with one hand. So I can just hit with my pinky the caps lock key, and I have all these letters and numbers that I can reach with just my left hand. That opens up 20 keyboard shortcuts right there.
Huh.
I probably won't try to explain that during the presentation, though.
No, but it makes perfect sense if you know how to do it, and you'll be showing them how to do it.
Yeah, it takes system-level hacks.
Yeah.
Dangerous stuff.
Well, yeah, but not in the hands of someone that knows what they're doing.
People like me, we know how to fix it if we break it. And so it's not that we don't cause problems on our systems. I would be really bored if I never caused a problem on my own system. But again, I do all that, and I break things so that I can tell other people how to avoid that or what to do if it happens. I realized that's kind of why I went independent, is I like sharing my experience, and I like being paid to gain experience, to just explore the things I want to explore, and then sharing it, whether it's Macworld or whether it's on my blog. That's the payoff for spending 3 hours in a rabbit hole trying to figure out a piece of code or a trick or whatever it may be, a design issue. As long as I can share it when I'm done, as long as I can tell somebody about it and help them, I feel like it was worth it. Magnanimous.
Yeah. So you're almost approaching this as a research from a very pure standpoint, and then making it apply to me and to other people.
Like I said, a lot of the stuff I tackle, I'd say probably 30% of all the problems that I work on come from other people. Not even to me sometimes. I'll see just an average person on Twitter complain about something and other people will agree with them, and I'll think it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm out there trying to fix a problem that I agree is an annoyance for someone else that hadn't previously been an issue for me. But I don't know. I like solving problems. I guess I like helping people, but more than that, I like solving problems.
Well, you can do both at once, and it's interesting that you look at those people's problems as an opportunity.
Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, well, and it's great that there is somebody out there that does that, because otherwise a lot of us would be complaining into emptiness and not getting any help. So
I find people are very surprised and grateful when I hand them solutions that they didn't ask or pay for, but it's always under the stipulation that I can share it with everybody. You know, if I go out and solve a problem for somebody, it's because I think more than one person has that problem. So the more people you can help with your 2 hours in the basement, the better.
Yeah, but Brett, and we're sort of mixing a couple different topics here, but you say give it to them for free. Well, at some point, you have to get paid for your expertise. How are you addressing that as someone who's now independent and fully dependent upon, the projects he does?
Yeah. Well, the first day I was on my own, I set up subscriptions on my blog. And I didn't offer anything extra. I said, I've been giving this stuff away for 7 years now. And if you appreciate it, if you use it daily and you feel like you would like to support me, you can sign up and pay anywhere from $3 to $12 a month. I'm not sending out newsletters or anything, but I've gotten a lot of support because a lot of people benefit from the stuff I do give away. So I think there's in that area, a regard among the more mature audience that you pay for things you like, and then they keep coming. And then Mark II came out, and the sales have been not they dwindled at first. There's always that first day kind of bump. They're rising now. Somehow, I don't know what I did, but sales are rising, and I'm putting hours into that, and I'm polishing it, and then I've got more applications. I'm finding myself doing a lot of development work, but I'm also working on books that will pay in the long run. A lot of hours up front, though. But yeah, I mean, and the podcasting, I get paid for podcasting, so I make money in just about every area, which gives me the freedom to give away some of my passion projects.
Do you ever allow people to send you problems that they're having and maybe contract with you in some fashion?
I don't. I try to avoid contracts. I try to avoid, especially since I left my job. I used to be really bad at this, but since I left my job, I say no to almost everybody who wants to directly hire me. Like right now, I'm working for myself. If you have a problem that interests me and affects me, I'll solve it. But I don't really want the responsibility of invoicing and time tracking and all of that. I'm happier just working and sharing, and I don't think it's a matter of me allowing people. People sneak in emails daily. They just say, "Oh, hey, and I read them, and I want to just ignore it." But 5 minutes later, I go back. I'm like, I can fix that.
So you have this compulsion to fix that.
It's a compulsion. It's a disease.
So the folks that need to show up for your Mac session, your Macworld session, are those who want to take advantage of your compulsion.
Yes, ne'er-do-wells.
Well, I don't know about that. This is a fascinating, almost anti-business model. I'm not quite sure what to make of it, but hey, it seems to be working for you.
Yeah, I'm going off my own experience. I've run a business. I've been a freelancer. I've worked corporate jobs. I feel like I have a certain amount of it figured out. I'm in uncharted territory for myself right now, but I've learned how to stop bleeding money and turn what I love into a profit and still be able to, do the things I want to do even after my hobbies have become a job.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if there aren't people that meet you after the session and want to talk about your lifestyle model as opposed to just all the Mac tips and tricks. Because I think, you're onto something. And if you can make it work and could help people find the freedom to do that, to work on the things they want to, and recognize that they have to make money in certain ways, but can pursue the things that they have a passion for. And it sounds like self-help, but it's not. It's true, and you're doing it.
We'll see. We'll see who after seeing me talk would be trusting enough to ask my advice on something like that. I suppose, though, you're seeing me talk right now, and you seem to think it would be okay.
Oh yeah, I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit. Because I think it takes a lot of courage to do what you do, to leave the security of a job of, I don't care what industry it's in, and go to the basement and say, okay, this is what I'm going to do because I really love it. Yeah,
it does. It takes courage and a real gambling spirit. That's always been. I take chances, and sometimes they don't work out, and I never feel bad about that. I don't get like that anxiety that most people get. I get excited about the possibility of failing, and most of the time it works out.
Yeah, but you're not taking stupid chances, Brett. I mean, that's pretty obvious. From your with your background, with your skills, and with your approach to it.
I've gotten better about that.
Yeah. Well, live and learn, as we all do. This sounds like just a really interesting session put on by a really interesting person, and I would hope everyone will go and check it out. When is this session?
Oh, man. I should have prepped for that question, huh?
Right,
I think it's on Thursday.
All right. Well,
I can't say for sure.
Okay, well, I'll make sure that I have a link in the show notes right to it so that the people can put it on their calendars.
It's right after David Sparks' session. If you know what time that is.
I don't know. I don't have the
Me
calendar.
either.
Yeah.
Me either.
Yeah.
It's okay.
But that's good. That's good. Well, folks, the session is, and again, I want to read it, The Efficient Mac User, OS 10 Tips for Getting More Done with Less Work. And Brett would be the guy to teach it because he's been doing this kind of thing and ironically giving it away. Now he's going to give it away more in person. You can go and benefit from it. Brett, it's great to see you. Thanks for being here, and thanks just for everything you do and everything you share. It's not overlooked by everyone.
I get a lot of gratitude, but yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, we'll see you in San Francisco.
Definitely.
Folks, Brett's going to be in San Francisco. I'm going to be in San Francisco. We hope you will be too for Macworld iWorld 2014. It's going to be a blast. Please check the show notes. I'll have links to everything that Brett does, so you can find his stuff, you can find his session, and to follow us both on Twitter and wherever else we hang out. Until the next time, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for links, show notes, to subscribe, to connect with Chuck on Twitter, app.net, Google+, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Subscribe to our weekly newsletter, the MacVoices Dispatch, to stay up to date with all the latest MacVoices news from our front page or at macvoices.com/newsletter. Advertising and sponsorships handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com.